Hi, I'm PJ Rivers, and this is Crash Course World History. And today we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite person, the original Man of Steel. And no, that's not him. It's Joseph Stalin. Born December 21st, 1879, Joseph Stalin was raised in Gori, Georgia. No, not the Peach State. No, not the backdrop to Gone with the Wind. It's actually a country in Eurasia. But his real name wasn't Joseph Stalin. What a liar! His name was actually, I'm not even going to try pronouncing it, it's right here. There, read it. He was the son of a shoemaker, and his childhood wasn't very pleasant. He didn't have many friends, and he got smallpox at the age of 7. Due to smallpox, his left arm became quite deformed, and that's probably what led to his reputation known today. First things first, let's talk about his school life. He studied to become a minister on a scholarship, and while there, joined the Masen Dasi. Masen Dasi was very ironic for Stalin's personal political life, because it was a secret group that actually supported the Georgian independence from Russia and Tsar Nicholas' rule. This is where he first became introduced to the idea of socialism in the writing of Karl Marx and various other authors. In 1899, Joseph Stalin was pressured to leave school as he disagreed with the political ideas of the Tsarist regime, led by Nicholas II. Shortly after, he became a member of the Social Democratic Labor Party, which was an organization against the current Russian government. This led to his arrest in 1902 during a labor strike, and his punishment for rebelling was an exile to Siberia. Some years later, Joseph Stalin was allowed back into the Soviet Union. By then, he was calling himself Stalin, Russian for steel, and he was appointed to serve on the Bolshevik Party, run by a man named Vladimir Lenin, who was a communist revolutionary. No, not that Lenin. Lenin. Say it with me. Lenin! Good job. He wasn't an outstanding speaker, but he was excellent at organization and ruthless when it came to achieving goals, so it wasn't a surprise that he rose through the ranks pretty quickly and was appointed General Secretary in 1922. After Vladimir Lenin's death, he became the dictator of the communist state. Stalin used terror to rule, and he would do whatever it takes to take out anyone who opposed him and his political ideas. Midnight arrests, large show trials, he even sentenced people who just disagree with him to death. And that takes us to our open letter. But first, see our report with our not-so-secret compartment.
Thanks, PJ. Now let's go over to our not-so-secret compartment and see what's in store. Oh boy, a book! The novel Animal Farm by George Orwell is intensely popular nowadays, especially in middle schools and high schools, but way back during the Cold War and even before it wasn't so popular. They actually didn't publish it until after World War II because the Soviets were still an ally, and it was considered offensive because it criticized Stalin's reign and basically the whole system of the USSR. It's actually considered offensive because it criticized Stalin's reign and basically the whole system the USSR had in treating its people and in treating other countries around it. Basically, Russia equals the animal farm, Napoleon is Stalin, and all the poor dead animals by the end of the book are the poor dead Russian people under selfish dictatorships.
Thank you, Sarah. Now it's time for the open letter. The open letter today is made out to young Joseph Stalin before he became a dictator and all those mean things happened. Young Joseph Stalin, hang in there, man. I know your father's abusive to you. I know kids at school bully you because of your arm, and it's different from the other people's, but stand up for yourself. Be stronger. Know everything's going to be okay. You don't want to grow up to be one of those mean people that insult people and put down people usually. He literally put down people. Like millions of people. Were they like the enemy? They weren't the enemy, they were his own people. Sincerely, PJ Rivers. And now it's time for Aroni to say some things.
Stalin obtained power through manipulation of the leaders of the USSR. His main goal was to industrialize the nation, and he wanted to collectivize agricultural land, thus creating economic success. While his plan initially worked, that millions died from famine, while others were sent to labor camps. His mass industrialization and executions peaked in 1938, which caused a lot of dysfunction within the government. Next up, World War II. Although the Soviets weren't initially involved in the conflict, Hitler violated a non-aggression pact. In June of 1941, the German Blitzkrieg attacked the Soviet Union, and that made Stalin, well, pretty upset. So they declared war. But due to the turmoil going on in the USSR at the time, they started losing millions of lives of their soldiers. This led to Stalin's suspicion of Western capitalist countries, especially the United States. He became obsessed with the possibility of invasion from the West, so he began establishing communist regimes throughout Europe, also known as satellite states. This led to the formation of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, where various countries formed together to counter Soviet influence. Stalin also began encouraging the North Korean leader Kim Il-sung to invade South Korea, thus furthering the spread of communism. Stalin didn't think America would get itself involved in a conflict halfway across the world that didn't really have much to do with it. Western leaders refused to allow the expansion of Soviet influence, and the cooperation of the warriors disintegrated into two hostile camps, each armed with atomic weapons. Woo! World destruction! The struggles of maintaining the USSR's sphere of influence began to grow to be too much, and Stalin began to suffer from strokes. Yet, when an assassination plot was discovered, he still ordered the purge of his people to maintain his unquestionable iron grip on his country. But before the purge could actually happen, Stalin suffered from another massive stroke, and he died on March 5th, 1953. While Stalin can't be considered a good man, he was great. He made a weak and struggling country into a force to be reckoned with, despite his less than moral methods. I think an adequate representation of his life can be summed up ironically through one of his quotes on death. The death of one man is a tragedy, but the death of millions is a statistic.